if you're working out really hard, yoga is an amazing thing. You want to be in recovery that week. And I think this is the biggest thing that I would love to get out to the world, because how many times have we bitched and moaned about like, oh, like I feel horrible. I'm tired. I crave carbs. I want to sit on the couch. It's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. And progesterone's like, yep, that's what we do. As women have become more in the workplace and having to do work and families, there's this push on through that is not serving us during that week. So make sure you're giving yourself plenty of nurturing, maybe get a massage during that time and up your magnesium.
It's really important for us as women that white knuckling it, whether it's in a certain time in our menstrual cycle, during fasting, et cetera, that is not what we advocate for. Being kind to yourself is so important. I sometimes think about the fact that the times when I had the worst PMS. So when you're dealing with significant PMS, really understanding that is the time your body is really encouraging you to slow down, lean into some more carbohydrates, be more gentle. That's not the time to be doing these crazy fasts, maybe 12 hours of digestive rest.
And the other thing that I've been thinking about lately that we don't talk enough about as women is that what is the actual, when you shed blood, it's actually a bit of a detox. It can detox toxins, it can detox emotions. So if there's any point in our cycle where we have got to take better care of ourselves, it's during that time. And when we look at PMDD and we look at, other hormonal situations, even PCOS, infertility, like we really have to get to know where our behaviors have to change at different points of our cycle. And then honoring that menstruation. I loved what you said about, I almost wish I had a cycle again. Like now that I understand it at 53, I'm like, sheesh, I wish I understood it at 33 like I understand it now. In the book, I call this the nurture phase. That week before, we need to nurture ourselves.
There are very few people I meet that nurture themselves enough. Really
Agreed.
And truly. And I say that from the most loving perspective, myself included. I'm a work in progress. Yes. Okay. Another progesterone question as it relates to perimenopause. This young woman says, I'm 50. I still have a regular period, but that week before my period, when I pause my intermittent fasting, I feel very anxious and annoyed with everyone. I just bought progesterone cream and used it the week before my last period, but I'm wondering if I should be using it throughout the month. Thank you for everything you do for women's health. You and Cynthia are my gurus.
Oh, I love it. Well, yeah, anxiety at that time of your period is definitely low progesterone. So as far as the progesterone cream, that's really a question for your doctor. I think the big thing on any kind of creams or bioidenticals is there's an art to mastering it for you. So I think one of the misconceptions is I'll just rub some cream on myself. I'll give you a story about progesterone cream that I did as a 53-year-old woman. As I test all this stuff out on my own, and I put progesterone cream on this summer, and I literally went crazy. I was like, everybody was agitating me. And what I figured out was that at 53, I have low estrogen too. So when I rubbed the progesterone cream on me, it took estrogen even lower, which my ability to handle stress became even more difficult. So I think for this woman at 50, we've got to, you find a good practitioner can help you with dosing that. But again, I would go back into everything we've said about progesterone, make sure you're eating more carbs and the magnesium. Like it's really about slowing down, which is probably the hardest thing to do.
Absolutely. And such a good response. I would add to that bioindividuality rules, definitely have a conversation with your medical provider. Get your hormones tested. This is one thing that I really encourage women to do. A woman said to me recently, my doctor told me I don't need to check my hormones because I'm in menopause. And I said, you need a new provider. Like that was my standard refrain. So knowledge is power. Work with someone that's going to work concurrently with you, work as a team so that you get the information that you need. I do find for younger women, sometimes that progesterone cream, if needed, can be helpful that week before.
Agree.
I do think for other women, they may need oral progesterone if that's what they're interested in doing. And you would obviously want to make sure that you're working with your provider, but I would get tested because the fact that you had this exacerbation of just being irritated, much to Mindy's point, if you're at the tail end of perimenopause, months, your estrogen levels are probably pretty low to begin with. And it would really be of value to know exactly where you are, get your labs tested, work with someone that will consider all the options that are available to you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well said.
I need some clarification. I'm still foggy with perimenopause and fasting for my cycle. If I don't fast the week of my expected cycle and then my period does not start, do I keep a 12-hour fasting window until my period starts? What if I skip and cycle completely? I want to work with my cycle, but in a season of unpredictability, I am not able to get into a good rhythm. I typically have a 30 to 35 day cycle, and I would like to do a 16-8 at least 2 to 3 days per week.
So the perimenopausal woman, it's probably the hardest age range to explain how to eat and fast because there's no predictability. So here's what I say is a couple things. You want to get to know the personalities of your hormones. And this is how I look at it, that when I would all of a sudden, like I'm actually 90 days into no cycle. And so what I don't have anything to map it to. So I usually go, okay, if I'm anxious, I didn't sleep well, and low back pain is one that shows up for me with progesterone. I go, okay, and I'm hungry in the morning. Those are signs that I need to feed progesterone. So I won't fast that day, or I won't fast as long, and I'll lean into more foods like we've talked about. When my skin is really dry and mucosal membranes are really dry, my brain can't hold on to information, that's when I'm like, ooh, I need more estrogen. Okay, estrogen likes me to fast and likes me to go into more of a keto diet. So I use their symptoms that they give me to help myself understand that. The other thing is, again, I'm back at the moon cycle. This woman could just chart her cycle start when, the new moon's on day 1, you could go around that. And then the last one is that I'm actually having some perimenopausal women do ovulation kits, which is so silly, but this woman, what she could do is, honor that week before her cycle. So I think she said you had a 34 day.
Yeah,
so
30 to 35 days.
Yeah. So make sure you're eating more carbs and you're not fasting. And then at the 35th day, go back into more of your fasting, more of your keto. And then maybe 10 days after that, do an ovulation test and see if you're ovulating at that point. So you almost kind of have to make your own cycle up, which is why I like the moon, or I like the ovulation kit. Otherwise, you got to get to know the personalities.